Mark Landman, and I'm pleased to see you all here, both everyone in the audience, as everyone joining us online tonight, as we call to order this joint meeting of the Cotati City Council and the successor agency to the former Cotati Community Redevelopment Agency for Tuesday, December 11th. And I'm going to begin with some introductions up here. I am joined to my left with Vice Mayor John DeLasso, over to my right with Councilmember Wendy Skillman and Councilmember John Moore. And over here at the staff table, we have City Manager Damien Obid, our City Attorney Robin Donahue, our Chief of Police Michael Parrish, our Community Development Director Vicki Parker, our City Engineer and Director of Public Works Craig Scott, and over to my right we have our Deputy City Clerk Lauren Burgess. And with that, I'm going to ask the City Clerk if we can have our roll call, please.
Councilmember Skillman?
Here.
Councilmember Moore?
Here.
Mayor Landman?
Here.
Vice Mayor DeLasso?
Here. All right, thank you for that. So with this, we're to the Pledge of Allegiance, and since we have a new reserve officer, I think that's what I've heard, and I've heard rumors of this. There's a new reserve officer here tonight. I'm going to ask Officer Pirro if he'd like to stand up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please approach.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. This brings us to item 4, which is approval of minutes and a notice of waiving a reading of all resolutions and ordinance introduced and or adopted under this agenda. This is an action item. Do I have any changes or additions to the minutes as written? No? Do we have any comments on this? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion? Motion a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So we have, that passes unanimously, 4 yes and 1 absence.
I think we have to do a roll call since we have an absent.
No, it's only,
No?
it would only be a roll call when she's on
the phone.
So, but you're right. You usually forget that when she's on the phone, so it's good to remind me. I appreciate it. So this brings me to a few announcements I need to read, and then we shall get to some presentations very shortly. First of all, I'd like to do a meeting orientation for new attendees and viewers. In conformance with the Brown Act and the adopted City Council rules, the meeting agenda includes items labeled as action items, where the City Council will consider the item, and citizens are afforded the opportunity to provide comments relevant to the item being discussed. The meeting agenda also includes a citizen's business item, which is the designated place in the agenda where citizens have the right to say whatever they wish. The City Council may or may not choose to respond to comments as the government code allows. However, if the City Council declines to respond, it should not be perceived as giving credence to or agreeing with statements that the City Council or its members believe to be incorrect, misinformed, or purposefully biased. Next, the City of Cotati has special open office hours on Monday evenings from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. by appointment in the Community Development Department at City Hall as part of our Cotati Open for Business program. This program provides personalized assistance and information to developers, current Cotati business owners, and those interested in starting a new business within the city. Next, the Roner Park Cotati Regional Library hosts events for all ages, including art exhibits, book clubs, and children's programs. All events are free and open to the public. For more information, you can call the library at 584-9121 or visit them at sonomalibrary.org. Next, the Cotati Historical Society Museum is open regularly the second Tuesday of each month from 5 to 7 p.m., Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m., and by appointment. For more information, you can call them as well at 707-794-0305. Citizens interested in receiving City of Cotati community alerts via text or email are encouraged to sign up at nixle.com or texting your zip code to 94931 to 888-777. So you can get some more emails that way. I'm sure that's something everybody wants. Next, the City of Cotati, and the California Homemakers Association, CHA, are once again partnering to prepare food boxes for those in need this holiday season. Join them in the classroom behind City Hall on Saturday, December 22nd, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. to assemble food boxes with donations from numerous local businesses. For donations to this event or more information, you can get a hold of the CHA, the California Homemakers Association, at 707-591-9573. And it is, once again, time for our annual holiday drive. This is sponsored by the City of Cotati, the Rancho Adobe Fire District, and the Rohnert Park Cotati Rotary. Forms to request toys for children 12 and under are available at our police department, and toys will be delivered on Saturday, December 22nd. I have it in good authority by Santa, who will be escorted in police cars and fire trucks. So we'd love to see unwrapped toys donated at City Hall, the police department, or the fire department. Lots of places to do that. And lastly, the city offers a variety of recreation programs now for all ages. We have details on the web at cataticity.org, so please take a look at that. And this brings us to item number 6, which is presentations. And we begin tonight with the introduction of a new civil engineer, Mr. Obid. Mr. Scott, will you be opening this for us?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, Craig Scott, Public Works Director, City Engineer. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce you tonight to our newest member of the engineering department. That's John Caldwell, and he's here tonight with his family. And John's from Santa Rosa and now lives in Rohnert Park. He graduated from Chico State University with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering in 2007, with an emphasis in geotechnical engineering. And in fact, he worked for 7 years for Miller Pacific, a geotechnical engineering firm, for 7 years, and then spent the past 2 years working for the County of Marin Public Works Department. So he's very familiar with public works and working in this realm. He took the SMART train to work to San Rafael for the last couple of years, but he's much happier now, just having a much shorter commute across town. John's main hobby is playing and coaching various sports. He usually coaches his children's softball and soccer teams and enjoys playing golf, softball and disc golf. John is already out and about. You can see him inspecting the condition of streets or inspecting encroachment permits when they're completed, and doing various stormwater compliance visits. And we're happy to have him on board here. Now's the time, John, if you have a few words to say, and you may be asked a few questions by council.
Good evening, everyone. Good to meet you. This is the family. I'm very grateful and honored to be working here for the City of Cotati. It's so nice to be closer to home, to be working with and for the people I rub shoulders with in my community. I've been very warmly welcomed. I'm very thankful for the opportunity and how I've been embraced by the city and everyone around me. So, yeah.
I think we put you on the spot long enough there. Let me see if my colleagues have any comments or questions for you. Anybody on this side? Councilmember Skillman, please lead us off.
So just wanted to welcome you to Cotati, and glad that you're available and that you're closer to home, and it really does help a lot, even with a commute just down to San Rafael. It can kind of take some time away from your day with your kids, so that's really great, and look forward to working with you and seeing you around town and coming to all of our events, and just welcome, and thank you very much. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome, John. I think you'll find Cotati is a great little city to work with. We got a fantastic staff. We've had public works for years that are second to none, and working with those folks, I think you'll be very pleased. Craig might be another story, but you'll get over that. So, and welcome. Glad you could come on board.
Vice Mayor DeLossa.
Yeah, welcome. A great first name. Should be easy for most of us up here to remember, I would think. I always try to say something witty when we have new staff, and it's typically only witty in my mind when I say it, and that's fine. But I don't know, your speech almost brought me to tears. It was just so genuine and sincere. It's like, I'm just going to cut it off early tonight and say welcome, and we're really glad that you're here.
Thank you very much.
And I'll echo all my friends, colleagues' comments. We're very glad to have you here, and very glad you're going to have such a much shorter commute, more time to be with the family, a little more time for soccer and softball coaching. A good thing all around. So I wonder, since you brought some people here, if you'd like to all come up front and perhaps get a picture with the council. This is the one time it's good for us to be calling you up in front of the council, probably, so let's make the most of it while we can do it. Would you like to join me down the council?
Shall we give him a round of applause?
Yes, indeed. All right. Now, this is how Craig normally does things in the beginning every morning for this department, right? There's applause for the employees when they come in?
Absolutely, yeah.
Good to
Standard
know.
process.
That won't go away, Craig. It's all good. Now, we'll see if we do it this way at the police department. That's our next question. So we have another introduction tonight, and we have the introduction of a new reserve police officer. Chief Parrish, I wonder if you'd like to take us through that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for this opportunity. Anthony, come on up to the podium. So this is Anthony Pirro. He's our newest reserve officer. He's going to be taking the oath of office here momentarily. As you can see from his entourage here, he's local. Anthony is a Casa Grande High School graduate. He grew up in Petaluma. He just recently relocated to the Sebastopol area. I figured we should all meet him now and not meet him for the first time when he's behind me with a red light on. So here he is. Anthony's had a lot of jobs since graduating high school, anywhere from hauling hay to diesel mechanic, truck driver. He's done a lot of things. What his background revealed is that he's always had a strong work ethic. And so I'm glad that he's here, and I'm confident that he'll carry that work ethic here at our city as a police officer. He is a graduate of the Santa Rosa JC Academy, like almost all of our officers are, of course. And Anthony's expressed a strong desire to stay local in Sonoma County, working as an officer. And he believes that the city of Cotati is a good fit. And I agree with him. I also think that he's a good fit for our city. So he's going to be in the capable hands in the next few weeks with Corporal B. Gallo and the Field Training Officer Program. So I wish you luck with that, Anthony. It's not easy. And then he'll have FTOs after that. But we got good thoughts, and our goal is to get him through the program and get him out on the street working for us. So I'm going to go up there and have him take the oath of office, and then his mother, Christine, who is here, is going to pin his badge on him.
Wonderful.
Anthony, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Anthony Pirro,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Well, let's see now. Normally at this time, I offer to come down and take a picture with you and the family, but you have such a big group here. I'd like to make a suggestion. Perhaps we could get a shot of Anthony standing in the center of the aisle from here with his group. Then we'll invite as many as you can fit up here and get a shot with the council if you'd like. Does that sound like a good plan to everybody?
Thank you.
Let's do that. So if anybody would like to get a picture of Anthony standing there, come on up here. Feel free to take some shots. We'll get out of the way so you have a nice, clear field of vision and get them, because I think this would be a wonderful picture for you all to keep. Okay? We'd be happy to take the shot for you too if you'd like to get a picture. The city manager developed great expertise in this.
Oh, there you go. Let's see here. Well, that brings us to an update by our Sonoma County Library representative. Mr. Merrick, you have a hard act to follow, I think, with this. Yeah, actually, yeah, if you're more than welcome to stay if people are ready to leave, or we'll move on to our next items, and it's whatever you'd like to do. Huh?
Oh, sure, now everybody's going to leave because they heard cake.
Yeah, really? Thanks, Doug.
City Manager Obid, did you get offered any cake or ice cream?
Doug, what's the story? Hey.
We'll give everybody just a second before we move on to our next thing. That was fun. I thought so too, but the way they did it, he was already gone. I didn't want to pull him.
We're going to give him
How
a
bad
chance
is
to
it, Doug?
filter out.
Good, thank you.
Much smaller audience. I like it.
Yeah.
We'll hang on just a second here, guys, and I'll introduce you and we'll let you get started. But I don't want you to have to try and compete. The noise in here is always difficult. think the city manager is going to work on moving things along for us here, and then we'll start in 2 seconds.
What's that? No, I go with red wine.
Yeah, yeah.
Go with the Kindle.
All I did is talk and then I left.
Oh, the Kindle Jack.
It's just like being at home.
Where are you from? You are from?
All right, thank you for your patience. So as I mentioned, our next presentation is an update by our Sonoma County Library representative, Mr. Jason Merrick, as well as Lana Adlon, the Division Manager for Public Services. So welcome to the both of you.
Thank you. So you kind of stole what I was going to say at the beginning. My name is Jason Merrick, as has been mentioned. I was elected in April as Library Commissioner for the Sonoma County Library. So far, I've enjoyed the position very much. Look forward to the prospects for both the community and the library itself. And just want to go over some of the highlights from the Sonoma County Library system and introduce you to Lana Adlowin, our new Division Manager of Public Services. She's jumped on board. She's been great. And one of her purviews is the Rohnert Park / Cotati Regional Library as well. So I'll just jump right into it. I'll start with Measure Y, since that's been a large topic for the county. Measure Y was approved in November of 2016. It was a sales tax across the board of the county of 1/8 of a cent. The goals of the measure were to support library collection and programs, improve access to local libraries, and maintain aging library facilities. I'll go over, there's a list of accomplishments that Measure Y in 2017 and 18 has been able to accomplish for the library, and it's quite noticeable. First of all, it's increased our materials budget by 67%, increased online services. A large part of library services now are providing online ebooks, audiobooks, video libraries, and I'll get into that a little bit, but our online services have greatly expanded, which gives access to everybody in the county. Increased number of programs, expanded licenses for films, Student Success Initiative. It's starting in Santa Rosa, and it's going to spread to the rest of the county. It's where we partner with schools and allows a student and their student ID to have access to a library card through their just being a student within the county. So that program we're starting in Santa Rosa, and hopefully all schools will want to participate at some point. Increased cultural programs, Discovery. This is cool. So the Discovery Backpack Program with the regional parks. So you can go to the public library and actually check out a backpack to go backpacking in our regional parks with. So that's one program that got started with the Measure Y funds. Health education and technology programs, which are just getting going. SAT and ACT preparation classes, skills assistance and technical classes, adult literacy, summer reading programs, increased hours at all branches. We restored Monday hours. We restored Monday hours and increased hours on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Supported temporary Roseland facility, expanded staffing for extra hours. We purchased Hublets, so you can go into the library now. Again, it's a pilot program, and it's expanded to all libraries, but you can check out a tablet and walk throughout the library and use it anywhere in the library. You're not restricted just to the desktops anymore. So that's a new Hublet program. We've added self-check stations and moved headquarters or administrative services to Rohnert Park. So Measure Y over 2018 has generated $11,946,712, which is quite a sum, and it greatly expanded our budget and our opportunities. This year, we were fortunate enough, mostly due to we had budgeted positions that we didn't completely fill in the library, which gave us a surplus that we could use this year. Most of the major positions were filled, such as Lana's, another division manager, Sarah, Ventries, a adult literacy program, community service representative. So our large, but it's the lower levels we're filling slowly, and a lot of it's due to the cost of living in Sonoma County, but we are working to fill all positions. I'm sure you're familiar with that story. So we had a budget surplus of $6,224,219. So we have allocated that for various programs. I can get in more detail, but just I'll go over the exciting stuff. Capital improvements. We've increased materials, e-audiobooks, Hoopla checkout. So Hoopla is where you can go get e-audiobooks. You can get e-audiobooks.
Television series. It's an app that you can download on your phone and access those materials really easily. You could do it right now if you have a library card.
Yeah, it's books, audio files as well. So books on audio file. That's all part of the service. We've also started a teen adult video game collection, increased our juvenile video game collection. We're improving training and consultation for the library staff. We are now doing loanable hotspots. This is really cool. So the library is now purchasing 500 hotspots especially important for rural parts of the county. So anybody can go check out for a period of time a hotspot, and it has a data plan with it, and you're able to get Wi-Fi access in your home, or if it's a business that checks it out, or whoever may check it out, it offers them immediate wireless internet access.
And we're still working on that pilot, so we hope to have that active probably by April.
This is really going to be important for, I think, Katati. We have now started, this is a project that Lana will be working on. We will have a mobile library van in the county. So the library van will be going, and it's yet to be determined the exact service that be provided by the mobile library van, but there's an intermingling of technology, so ability to use maybe computers in the van itself. There will be a librarian, so they will be able to offer programming wherever they go. And thirdly, possibly for seniors who can't make it to the libraries, a book service, so they can check out books, and the library service, when they come into the community, will have those books available. My thinking is possibly that, and we can get scheduled regular stops, look at the community center, Thomas Page, or Charles Street Village as stopping points, maybe weekly even, for the mobile van itself, so that the seniors can rely on this van coming at certain points and access books or check out books that may come with the van. So that's something that's really exciting. We also have capital improvements. Other highlights is we've had library refreshes, so for lack of a better word, interior remodels. Northwest Library in Santa Rosa was done, and currently Petaluma is being refreshed, and asbestos mitigation was done in a history and a genealogy building, which is the only building in Santa Rosa, the only building that the library owns, and it's in Santa Rosa. Another thing we're doing is Canopy. So you can go online. Canopy is really neat. If you're into documentaries or independent films, you can go on Canopy now and watch those over your computer, which is being offered. So that's another online resource that we're offering through the library website. Also, we have do-it-yourself toolkits that are checked out of the library itself. So I think we partnered with possibly Sonoma Clean Power, but it's energy efficiency toolkits that you can check out. Then it goes over instructions, what you can do, services you can hire to come do an energy efficiency audit, and things like that out of the toolkit. That's through the library itself as well. And I'll let Lana talk more about the library. Just real quick, we hired an adult teen librarian and an additional full-time adult librarian out of the library.
So as Commissioner Merrick said, I'm Lana Edlow, and I'm the new division manager for public services with the system, and I joined in August. I've only been here a few months, but I'm really happy to be here tonight and be able to give this presentation. So Commissioner Merrick kind of gave the big overview of what we're doing for the library system, but I really wanted to provide a local picture of the impact of the Rohnert Park Cotati Library. For last fiscal year, the number of patrons that visited the library were over 218,000. So that's people walking in the door to the library, which is, I think, pretty incredible. As Commissioner Merrick said, we hired an adult teen librarian, have an adult librarian, but we also have 2 full-time children's librarians. I'm a former graduate of Rancho Cotati High School and Rohnert Park Junior High, and the library was my sanctuary in middle school. So having this staff available to youth in the community is invaluable. They do a tremendous amount of programming and support, and looking at the curriculum in the schools and what we can provide in the library so that students get access both at school and in their off hours. Youth in the area have access to free technologies that they may not have at home or at school, so access to virtual reality equipment. Have any of you ever used like an Oculus Go? Okay, so you can do that at the library, or print something on a 3D printer. So again, preparing youth for the future and preparing adults for the future to come. The Rohnert Park Cotati Library is in the top tier of branches in our entire library system, and the number of programs they offered to the community last fiscal year. So they offered 413 programs that attracted almost 10,000 attendees. So this is your local community really using the library. So beyond serving young people, the library is also an access point for computers, Wi-Fi, simple things like printing. I wanted to share a story that a Rohnert Park staff member shared with me about a woman who spoke primarily only Spanish and came into the library and needed to fill out an incident report for her employer. So she didn't know how to use a computer and she didn't speak English that well, and the report had to be submitted online in English. So library staff walked her through that process, one-on-one help, and the woman was able to submit the report, therefore hopefully keeping her employment and keeping her successful in that employment. So without the library being that spot in the community, where would some of our residents go for that assistance and that technology support? The Rohnert Park Library offers several programs, like I mentioned. They do 3 different story times, so one for babies, toddlers, and preschoolers. They offer homework help after school. They offer exercise and yoga classes, family programs, movie and game nights, SAT classes, which is my understanding they're not offered in the schools, so the class is full at the Rohnert Park Library. Again, another important service. Computer classes, access to the technology. And my final comments about the Rohnert Park Cotati Library is that they have close to 36,000 registered users. And we're providing a great service to the community, and we're very responsive to the community in terms of the community needs something, we find a way to make it happen. So I'm just thankful to be here tonight with Commissioner Merrick to tell our great story of service, and look forward to future partnerships and collaborations in helping to get this library to continue to serve its users in a great way and beyond going forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. That is a rather impressive list of things. You clearly had a very year. Thank you, Commissioner Merrick. Before you step away, I'm going to look and see if any of my colleagues on the council have any questions for you. Sure. Vice Mayor DeLasso, please.
Dive right in. Why not? Thank you guys both. Appreciate that. And Jason, it's great to have your face here. So we maybe it'd be great a couple times a year to come back and just give us, an update of what's going on too. And I know we get it from Wendy, who's our lab rep. Yeah, my history with the library is kind of long, especially with the Cotati Rohnert Park branch. I was on the lab for 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. But it was during the time when we approached the system to say, we need an upgrade down in this part of the county, and what we have was insufficient. So through some fundraising efforts and actually convincing the Rohnert Park City Council at the time a certain way to use some of their funds, then we have that great facility over there too, which is holding out pretty darn well every time I go over there. I also was a commissioner for about 5 years or so. It seems like all my times were tumultuous times because that's when we cut the Monday hours because of all the funding problems that were going on at that time. But I was a part of getting, and I don't know if this is good or bad or sour grapes, but the JPA together. It is what it is. There was a lot of negotiating that went on for that JPA. So yeah, it's really great to hear what's going on. It's great to hear the Monday hours are back. That was probably the biggest criticism the commission was getting at the time. And, at some point with budgets, you can only make so many cuts. And without laying people off to try to, get more service hours, it just didn't make any sense for us at the time. So, but this Measure Y was pretty much a godsend for you guys. So it's great, and thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just wanted to thank you as well for coming and doing the presentation. Some of the things I knew just from being in the lab, but it's great to know about all of the additional things and the things that people have access to that they wouldn't normally, because I think that's sort of an assumption that we make a lot of times. You know, you give kids homework to do that's only online, and you're assuming they have access to Wi-Fi. And I think it's just something that's unfortunate that we don't take into consideration more. So I think it's wonderful that we have that opportunity, and also the ability to do the mobile hotspots. I think that's really going to reach out and help a lot of people that wouldn't normally have access to online, online access. So I'm glad you guys are here and helping work towards getting people more access. And thank you very much for your time and coming here tonight.
Hi, I just want to say thank you for coming and for the work that you do. Horsett Library is such an asset for the community, and the ability to be able to expand upon those and our offerings to the community, I think is fantastic. It just shows us reaching a whole spectrum, and it's also keeping up with the new technology and the things that are more convenient and keeping people engaged in reading. Thank you.
This is definitely a ways past the library we remember with the racks of Dewey Decimal System cards and the holders, and that was essentially it. It's a much bigger and a much different thing. So we'll get to public comment in just a minute. I won't forget you, I promise. A quick question though. Let's see, rural hotspots. Interesting idea. How many do we have right now for the start? Do we know?
So we're planning for 500.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but right now we pulled a group of staff together.
You've already got me impressed. I expected something in the two-digit numbers, so that's
500.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that access is limited in our community, and the access will be through cell phone towers. So hopefully those really rural parts of the country or the county will have that access.
I think that's great. Very forward thinking, definitely more of a problem than probably most of us realize. Last thing I wanted to ask the two of you. Love the idea of what sounds like a modern take on the bookmobile. You mentioned a few key resources in Cotati that might be able to make use of that for senior services, including Charles Street Village, which I was going to suggest. I'd also just suggest we have several mobile home parks right up the street, essentially right on your way. If you want at some point contact the city manager, he might be able to put you in touch with people over there who are part of the HOAs or this or that, and see if there's something to be arranged, because that might be a nice service there too. For people who don't get out as often sometimes as many residents don't, that could be something really useful. So I thank you for that. I'll have you hang on just in case we have some questions for the college, but for now, thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it. And you can go ahead and sit if you like, because I have to open to public comments. So, but we might have a question for you just in case. So, and now I will open it to public comments since we did discuss this quite a bit.
This is all good. My first job was working for the Sonoma County Library. I was a book coverer. I did the plastic covers that they used to have, and I'd iron on the little Dewey Decimals onto the thing, and I'd also do the card catalog. So this goes way back. The Cotati Rona Park Library is exceptional compared to the other ones in the county. The staff there are wonderful. There's like Nick Alva, who's been here forever. There's a late, I don't know her name, long hair, who's been here for 30 years. They'll always help you. My mom especially, senior, loves going to the library, getting things. There's book clubs, and when she was like 10 years ago, she would do tutoring there because they had the hours after school, and now that they have the hours again, there's a lot of programs that could come in and do tutoring for students, and it's just a wonderful. Cotati Rona Park Library is just wonderful, always has been, and hopefully will always be. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Alderman. Well, I have this open. Anybody else? Mr. Barrich.
Thank you, Mayor. For the benefit of the audience, I'm former Cotati City Council member George Barrich. And this all sounds very exciting. And since Mr. Deloso wants to take us down a little memory lane about some of the processes over the years with the Sonoma County Library System, I want to bring us back to the evening when Lynn Conde came before the City Council as the new library was under construction to be built, asking the City Council if it would be so kind as to come up with some funds, any funds whatsoever, to help with maybe the landscaping or the signage outside the library, since Cotati was going to be taking some of the credit for the new facility. Mr. Deloso wasn't here that night, unfortunately. We could have used your support, sir, but you weren't here. And it was a sad thing to see Ms. Conde stand here and basically beg this city for some funds to show its support and love for the library, and they got nothing, not a dime. And it was sad to see this woman walk out in disgrace, because none of these people on the council now, most of them appointed to the council, not elected, none of these people were here that night to support Ms. Conde and putting forth some funds towards the new, beautiful, successful library. It was a sad day for Cotati. Whatever resentment that was built up in this town by the old guard, I can't speak to, but it was a real low point for Cotati and a low point for the library system. For goodness sakes, we are all thankful that the library has been a success, and the programs that are going forward tonight show what can be done in the face of hostility and a failure on the part of this small town.
And thank you, Mr. Barrich. Would anybody else like to speak? All right, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back. Jason, I want to thank you very much for being here. We would look forward to seeing you back. And any questions about how you can hook anything up in Cotati in terms of all the services you have to offer, please feel free to work through our staff or any of us. We'd be happy to help you. All right, so this brings us to one last presentation, and I believe we have an update by our Sonoma State University student body representative. Welcome.
Hello, Mayor Stafford and members of the council. My name is Brianna Rodriguez. I'm a fourth year at Sonoma State, graduating in May, and I serve as the Senator for Community Affairs at Sonoma State University. I'm just here to give a quick report pretty much on what we've been up to at Sonoma State. So I'm sorry, I'm battling a cold right now, so I'm a little sick. So right now we officially started our finals week. This is our last week to wrap up the semester, so things are pretty slow right now as we're closing out the semester. In terms of student government, we're undergoing changes in our bylaws that we passed at our last Senate meeting last Monday. So we look forward to that, and pretty much looking forward to the election season coming up next semester for the new members of the Senate coming in. Overall, school and events and programming that's been going on is like stress-free events right now for students. As we undergo finals, there's a couple events that pretty much that students are putting together to kind of de-stress and help us get through finals. And other news, our counseling and psychological services, known as CAPS, received a donation of $100,000 from an alum. So we're excited to see how those funds are going to be allocated to our CAPS and our CAPS services, as it has been a big thing these past couple of years, as not much money has been allocated for this program. And you can see it take a toll on students that don't have access to mental health facilities. And just a couple weeks ago, the Board of Trustees approved Sonoma State's purchase of employee housing unit in Petaluma. It's a 90-unit housing unit, which will be available to faculty in February. And so once it's extended to Sonoma State, it'll be extended to San Francisco State and Maritime faculty to also live in that area. So we look forward to see how that works out. And that's my report. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like you've been very busy over there, too. Thank you. And look at the council, if there's any questions tonight for Brianna? No? Well,
No.
Thank you very much for being here.
No problem.
Sure appreciate
Thank you.
that. Take care. And good luck with finals. Send our best wishes to everybody. That is stressful. All right, that brings us to the end of presentations and to approval of the final agenda. This is an action item. Do we have any changes to the agenda tonight, Mr. Obid?
No changes, Mayor.
No? Excellent. Very good. And that moves us on to citizens' business. I need to read this first or we can begin. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any items listed on the consent calendar or any matters not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda during this period. Pursuant to City Council Policy 2017-02, comments of any member of the public are normally restricted to a total of 3 minutes in length per person for matters not on the agenda, and a total of 3 minutes per person in length for any and all items on the consent calendar. The mayor may extend the time limit for a reasonable time where a disability accommodation has been requested. And I will note tonight we actually have no consent calendar items, so we won't be speaking on that. So with that, I do have a speaker card from Mr. Craig Smithson from Rohnert Park. Welcome, Mr. Smithson.
Mayor, thank you. Like you said, I filled out a card. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Or you want me to?
Oh, please tell us. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and ask us.
Walgreens. They have some regular visitors. I'm sure you're aware. Roosters, chickens. Who owns these barnyard animals? Does anybody know? And maybe a little bit more control over them.
Okay. And I believe you had one other question, too.
Yes. Can we go one by one, no?
Well, usually I'd be happy to, but the way this works is usually you get to speak for 3 minutes, and then when everybody's done speaking, we'll see if we can get some answers for you, give you some feedback. So, sorry, this is the way these things work at these meetings. I know it's a little unusual. I hear you.
Here, anyway. Yes, I believe it's called the Farmers Market on Thursdays. I've walked it a few times. To be honest, it reminds me more of a flea market. I don't know where the idea to call it farmers market came from, marketing tool or whatever. I think some people have maybe a negative idea of the word flea market. But frankly, I've walked it more than once, and it's closer to the flea markets that I've been to than the farmers market. That's all. And where the name came from, the idea for farmers market, rather than maybe flea market, which to me might be a more accurate description.
Very good. We're going to finish public comment, see if anybody else wants to speak, and then be happy to give you comment on that. Anybody else like to speak? Please come forward. That would be just fine. Yeah.
My name is Dennis Dorch. I live at 12 Regent Circle in Rohnert Park, not Cotati, unfortunately. I want to first congratulate the victors in the last council race. Congratulations. And I'm here actually as a newly board member of the Sonoma Philharmonic. If you recall, it was about 20 years ago today that the council got the band to play. Back in 1999, the city council took the suggestion of a citizen to put together an orchestra, which then became the Cotati Philharmonic. There's been 20 years. The name has changed, Sonoma Philharmonic, but the core group is really basically the same mission statement. The mission statement that we created here in this council chamber actually is still the mission statement for the orchestra. After 20 years, the orchestra board of directors wants to acknowledge the city of Cotati. We want to recreate the first concert in the park. We've actually reserved a date, July 6th, and we may be asking for some remittance of some of the fees in the future. We're still putting it together now. Some of the original people, you may know John Eder. He's going to be working with me to produce this. So it's a gift. We're making a gift back to the city of Cotati. So that's all I wanted to say, and just to make an announcement. And by the way, Vice Mayor DeLosso, you're rocking that beard. Like it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dorsch. Appreciate that. I'm going to see if we have any more public comment, and we'll see if we have any questions for you from the council after that. Anybody else want to speak in public comment tonight? Ms. Alderman, please.
At the last council meeting, I gave you so many issues that you could be putting on the agenda, and not one of one was you totally, this was a selfish agenda. All it has to do is with what you want and what your agendas, and it's just disgusting that you won't put the homeless, you won't put the seniors, you won't put anybody on the agenda that doesn't fit your narrative of how the city is going to be. The other thing that you're really showing your colors is Thursday is the Measure G of Citizens Oversight Committee meeting. It's not advertised, it's not on the board, it didn't get an agenda set out. Last year, not one citizen in the audience came. The year before, it was me. You guys need to make this is supposed to be they didn't even discuss the agenda last time. I mean the report. It's a rubber stamp. That's wrong. And you took again and again. You show Measure G is 1%, and you don't show the other 1% in a graphic. The guy from League of California Cities said that was a misleading graphic 2 years ago. You're still putting it in. You're misleading the people about what Measure G is. The bump from Measure G in 2014 brought in the 0.5% extra, brought in about $1.25 million a year. You know how much your wages and your benefits have gone up? $1,238,000. So basically, Measure G has gone to staff raises and salaries for the same amount of people. It's a bunch of bunk. Your whole report is a bunch of bunk. You're supporting what it is. It's not anything extra. As I showed last meeting, you didn't increase any services. You just increased your income. And the disrespect you're showing me, you're showing the citizens by playing these games, by not putting things on the agenda, by being selfish and trying to keep your narrative as things are just wonderful around here is not what's really happening.
Thank you, Ms. Alderman. All right, and one more, Mr. Barrich, you wish to speak? Caprio, please approach.
That was very well said, Lori. Thank you. You know, Council, we're all so very lucky. This is the time of the year to remember how lucky we all are to have homes, to have jobs, to have food and comforts that we often take for granted. But for many months or years, has it been years, Lori? For many years now, citizens have been trying to raise your awareness to the homeless problem in Cotati and the amount of people on the streets living in their cars, on the streets, any place they could find any shelter on the coldest nights, on the wettest nights when they are on our minds most. We've been bringing our concerns to the council, and we've got nothing but lip service. Now, Mr. Deloso has asked a couple times now if the council would be so kind as to maybe put this issue on an upcoming agenda. And he's gotten absolutely zero response from the rest of the council. This callous disregard for our citizens. These are citizens and these are taxpayers that are roaming the streets in Cotati. You've shown no concern for. You can't open up one of our many vacant rec rooms across the street here. You can't open up one of the bathrooms at the old middle school at night. You can't heat a room for these people in the coldest nights. Now, Mr. Deloso has wanted to put this on the agenda in the past, but now here we are in December and January. And again, you kick the ball down the road because you don't care. And it's an embarrassment to progressives, it's an embarrassment to Democrats everywhere, that you should hang your head in shame. Absolute shame. Lori Alderman has been on the bandwagon to try to get you to step up your game and try to act like city leaders that have some feelings and some compassion for people who have lost everything, have problems that they can't seem to manage, and they're roaming our streets. Then we have the campfires up in Paradise. And has there been any word or any offer from the council for the victims, the thousands of victims up in Paradise and Butte County, to please come to Cotati? If you need a place, come to Cotati. We will welcome you. We will do what we can to help. We will find parking on the street for you and your RV, or we will do what we can. Not a word has there been, Lori. Not a word of offering. And you should be ashamed of yourself. This is a generous town, and your callous disregard for even the fire victims, it just shocks the conscience of the community.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up now, George.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, would anybody else like to speak in public comment before I close it? And that closes public comment. So let's see, we had a few questions. I'll give some answers or what feedback I can, and invite staff to jump in at any place they deem appropriate.
I had a clarifying question, if I may.
Certainly.
I wanted to ask Mr. Smithson. When you first were talking about the chickens and the roosters and the animals at Walgreens?
Yeah, Walgreens and Pete's.
Correct.
I think you're right.
Right, and who owned those? Was there a situation where that was creating a problem?
I'd rather not put up the noise they create from time to time, but I just can't believe someone hasn't asked at least once where these animals come from, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay, so it was, I didn't know if it was creating a nuisance or if there was just
More of a pain in the neck, although I can see the potential sanitary problems when they have to do their business on the property. But
Okay, thank you. That's all. I wanted to know what actually the concern was on there.
well, the concern is, does the council, A, know where these animals came from? And B, maybe if they do, maybe a little bit more control of them. They seem to be quasi-Cotati celebrities.
I think you're right about that, and I think we got this nailed down. So I thank you for that. And let me give you some feedback and ask you to take your seat again.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, first of all, these are completely free birds, as you may well guess. And actually, I understand they go back a long ways, even for people of our lineage. I'm thinking almost 40 years they've been wandering around this downtown in Cotati, I understand. That's a story I hear from numerous old timers. Basically, they are cared for by some neighbors, I think even some of the businesses from time to time. And you are right, they are indeed celebrities. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard anybody complain terribly much about them, but I have heard numerous times from people how much they like them, which is a nice way of saving, I think, at the council. Even if we had an issue, we wanted to do something to try and control them or remove them, I think we'd be ridden out of town on a rail very quickly. is that... Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you to hold your comments. We're done with public comment right now. So anyway, so that is the background, and that is the type of thing. And, you know, I will tell you honestly, we have really never had a complaint. If we did from some of the businesses, that might take us to a different place, but we just haven't got there. And we are done with public comment on this. We're done with public comment. Thank you. I appreciate that, but we're done with public comment, Ms. Alderman. So that's the background on that. Let's see. The flea market, good question. You know, it started out as a farmer's market, and like so many of them, in an effort, I believe, just my personal take, to increase. Could we hold it down to a minimum, please? Thank you. I think I'll be as nice as I can. So as I was saying, in an effort to try and expand the number of people who are coming, I think all these different farmers markets have increased everything they can in terms of different goods, services, vendors, you name it. And I think for people who run farmers market, true purists for farmers markets, there's some, they don't like it as much, perhaps, but that's definitely the direction almost every farmer market's gone. So I think you make a good point. I'm sure a different name might be appropriate. I agree with you too, though. I don't think flea market's going to sell that well. We might have to rethink that one because it doesn't have the best connotation. So that's the best I can tell you about that. Moving on to Mr. Dortch, welcome back. I hope you don't feel like you're stuck in another interminable staff presentation here sitting at this particular table.
Actually, I'm enjoying all the accolades that you're getting from the public.
Some things don't change no matter how long you're gone.
It makes me glad I'm retired, by the way.
Okay, but I did want to say, very exciting, I do remember hearing about the Cotati Philharmonic. This sounds interesting. I would tell you, if you're not aware, typically we have a process when we have a new event, which this would qualify for since you have not been around here in a recent memory. We do like to pass costs in the initial year and a little bit less, but still some in the subsequent year to help people get started. So I think you can talk to our staff. I suspect you'll know how to do that very easily, and we'd be happy to help you with that.
I've already met with Ashley Wilson, so.
Wonderful.
But before we came back to you, we wanted to try to get a handle on all our costs.
Excellent.
And it's, it's basically about a 6-month process to put one of these things together.
Very good. So let's see. That brings me to, item 4, notifications. I wanted to ask, one last thing. I will say that sounds like a story that I would think our local newspaper might be interested in, about the new Sonoma Philharmonic. This gentleman right over here with the goatee and mustache, you may want to talk to Mr. Dortch, I think. And that brings me, I have one last question. In terms of Measure G notifications, are we remiss on any legal notifications, Mr. Obid? Have we missed any deadlines?
No.
Okay, good. I just want to check. It never hurts to check. We don't want to do that. All right. Any comment from the council?
I do have a clarifying question for Mr. Dortch. Is Gabriel Sakakini still?
No, Gabriel is actually retired from the orchestra, I guess, about 5 years ago. We have a new conductor named Norman Gamboa, who's from Costa Rica. By the way, we'd like to mention that our orchestra did do a 3-concert tour of Costa Rica last summer, and we actually played in the National Theater, and one of the guests there was the U.S. ambassador to Costa Rica. So.
Thank you.
Exciting. Very good. Vice Mayor DeLosso, you had a question.
I don't know that we'll get any ambassadors, but you never know. All right. There was some comment, certainly regarding homelessness issues, and it is an issue everywhere. We're aware of that. But I do want to remind, in case people missed the announcements, we are having our 6th annual food drive where 100 to 120 families throughout Sonoma County, and in the 3 years ago, I guess it was, the fires up in Lake County, we also included the Lake County area. And, we'd love to see anybody out there come to these events if you haven't come to these events. It'd be great. It's a wonderful full day of work putting these food boxes together, and they include just your typical, very little on canned goods and boxed goods, but like fresh fruits and vegetables, frozen turkeys. We try to put nutritious, complete meals together, and I say it's for about 100 to 120 families, but some of those are homeless, and some of those are even up to 6 or 8 people. Those are the bigger boxes, the ones I usually can't pick up. So again, there are some efforts that are being done out there, just so you know, and if you want to come help, please do.
good thing.
I have one more question, if I may. In our last census, what was the count for homeless in Cotati? 2, 3, 1?
The last point in time count was 1.
1. 1. Thank you.
Did you have a question? No? Very good. All right. So I think that brings us back. We have no consent calendar, as I mentioned tonight. So that takes us to number 10, which is direction and future agenda items. I'll look to the rest of the council, and you see if anything you want to do tonight?
Not tonight.
Well, I'm no surprise you have a couple I want to bring forward. And these are just general for early or mid next year sometime, but I think these should be upcoming. I imagine they will become upcoming. First would be having a discussion, not a decision point, but a discussion on potential alternatives to the use of Roundup or any glyphosate artificial fertilizer for municipal usage. And I'm not talking about banning it from stores, of course. I'm talking about for our use municipally in parks or sidewalks or wherever we might use that. I think we have some new information. There's interest in presenting some potential alternatives. We know that the city of Santa Rosa has looked at this and done this, as well as the city of Novato. So might be time to take a look at that and see if we can make this work. And did I hear Windsor too? In Windsor too. Good, I missed that one. See, the internet doesn't tell you everything, folks. So, secondly, I'd be interested in having a discussion on the possibility of switching to our municipal accounts to Sonoma Clean Power Evergreen. We're currently Sonoma Clean Power customers. There's interest in this at several levels at numerous other cities in the county as well as the county. So I think this is going to come before us. So I think it would be smart for us to let them do some legwork and see how this works out on a cost-benefit ratio and let our staff take a look at that and then have a discussion and see what that looks like. Has a lot of benefits, may have some questions to it too, but I think it's probably ripe for a discussion. So with staff's help, I'd like to see those come once we get back from the holidays some point in the future. All right. So this brings us to our regular agenda. And our first item is item A, and this is to receive and file a statement of the votes cast and a declaration of the results of the City of Cotati Consolidated General Municipal Election, which was held on November 6th. And let's see, will I have any presentation on this? Really, there's not much to say, is there?
Yeah, I'll just say, as you all can see, that the official statement of votes by the county registrar is attached to the staff report, which is fairly straightforward.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for staff from the council? Open up to public for public comment. Going right there. Ms. Alderman, welcome.
First of all, I'd like to say you're a control freak, Mark Lamon. There are some things in the statement of votes cast that are really good. We had a 76% turnout for the city of Cotati. It's one of the records. I was the precinct inspector for Cotati Vets Building, and we had 500 votes. In person votes, we had 370. Mail-in ballots put in, we had to get in an extra ballot box because we had so many ballots, and we had 130 provisional votes were mostly people. We did twice as many as any of the other two precincts, 5 people. I'd like to acknowledge those 5 people that did, and I was put through hell that this final vote was not finalized. Mr. Shaw owes me an apology at the Community Voice. He had to have he never publicly, all I wanted was to have it projected winners. I approached all of you. You were going to say winners, winners, winners. You disrespected me just like you disrespect me at every turn here. That I was an election official, and you couldn't even just for 1 minute respect me. That this vote wasn't finalized. Mark Lamon saying it's a mandate for himself. You don't know what's happening, and you don't know what. Forget it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Alderman. Anyone else like to speak on this agenda item? Mr. Barrich? Nope. All right, we're going to to bring it back to the council. Let's see. Any comments from the council? I have one, but generally the mayor goes last, so I can hold my horses for a minute.
No, I was just going to say, I think this is the second election for John and Mark. Is that correct? Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Any comments, Mr. Moore?
No, it's a lot of hard work, but you know, it's one of those thankless jobs, and I'm glad to serve the community.
Well, I'd be happy. It's an interesting process in a small town. What happens is, unlike places where there's big money and lots of mailers, what it's done here is done with shoe leather. You go out and knock on every door, and you talk to just about everybody who lives there. And this is a very good thing. This is a very good thing for electeds. Typically, we live in this community, and we know our people well, but this makes sure of it. And I just wanted to report back that I was pleased at the really strong sense of satisfaction I got from just about everybody I talked to. Now, it's not unusual to get positive feedback in Cotati. I've been out numerous times, and I've encountered that before. But never to the great level I have. A great sense of general satisfaction with the direction we're going forward in, with what's going on with roads. For other people, it was parks. For some, it was perhaps the police being back up to a better level. For a few, even, it was economic development, the thought of a hotel. They liked that. But for everybody, there was definitely, number one, they love living in this town, and number two, they're happy with the way things are going. So I want to thank my colleagues and all of our fine staff here in Cotati, because we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for all the work that all of you people do. So thank you for that. And I will say this is certainly not a mandate for myself. Most certainly not that. But given this level of support, I do think it's a mandate for the work that you all have been doing. So I know on my personal take, I will do my best to help us continue that for the next 4 years and try to improve things further in the community. So thank you for that. All right, and this brings us to item 11B, and this is a reorganization of council for calendar.
We need to make a motion for.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
So
I got on my soapbox and I forgot to get off. So we do need to receive and file this. So if somebody'd like to do this, because otherwise I'm certainly done with election season. I don't know about the rest of you. I think we'd like to see it finished.
I would like to move to receive and file the Sonoma County Clerk's statement of the votes cast, and to adopt a resolution declaring the results of the consolidated general municipal election held on November 6, 2018.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
That carries 4 with 1 absence. All right. Thank you for catching me there, council. At this point, we will now move to the reorg. So this brings us to, it's that time again. The city council needs to elect a new mayor and vice mayor from among our members, and this will be effective this coming January through December 2019. Does staff have any introduction, or do you want me just to do this?
There's really nothing to add. That's
Very
not in
good.
the staff report.
So let's see, I'm going to begin with just giving us some brief background, since there was some question a year ago and what we'd done in the past, who had served and who had not. I'll just get us up to date. In 2018, I did serve as mayor. Before that, Councilmember Harvey served in 2017. In 2016, Councilmember Moore was mayor. In 2015, Councilmember Skillman was our mayor. And in 2014, Councilmember DeLasso, or Vice Mayor DeLasso, was our mayor. So this is kind of the, excuse me, the order we followed in the past. And of course, this is an election, and we're free to nominate and elect whoever we want. But if we choose to follow that order, that practice, then the likelihood was we would be nominating Vice Mayor DeLasso for mayor and Councilmember Skillman for vice mayor. So with that, first I'm going to open this to public comment, and then I will open to nominations for mayor, and then secondly to nominations for vice mayor. So do I have any public comment tonight on this? Here's your chance. Going once, going twice? All right, bringing it back to the council. So I'd like to begin by opening nominations for mayor.
I would nominate Councilmember or Vice Mayor DeLasso for vice mayor. For mayor.
You did such a good job, they want to keep you there. All right, so we have a nomination. Do we have a second for that?
I would second.
Okay, so we have a nomination and second. Any discussion? Any further nominations? Seeing none. All in favor of John DeLasso moving over to the center here in January, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you for that, council. That brings us to the election of vice mayor, and following the same procedure, I'm going to open to nominations.
Now, I move to nominate council member, I'm going to get all the titles right this time, council member Wendy Skillman as vice mayor.
And I would second that.
So we have a nomination from Vice Mayor DeLosso and a second from Councilmember Moore. Any other nominations? Any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call for all in favor. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Well, I guess you guys are it. Congratulations. We have a new mayor and new vice mayor for 2019. Congratulations. And now just a little more work for us. This brings us to item 11C. And this is a reorganization of council assignments, representatives and liaisons to various committees for the calendar year 2019. So I think the first thing I'd like to do before we get started here is open this to public comment, see if we have any public comment on these council assignments from anybody. Looking around, nobody's going to bite on that one. All right. So I'll bring it back here. So we have two ways to go tonight, council, and I'll see what your direction might be in that. In the past, we have gone through point by point in each one and seen if we want to make any changes. I've noted the last few years we haven't made any changes. And I did talk with Councilmember Harvey since she could not be here tonight, and she let me know she's satisfied with the assignment she has, although she begged us not to stack her with any more since she isn't here. And I know what you're thinking, Vice Mayor-elect Skillman. So I'll put it to you, we have the choice of going through this list by list. So if there's some satisfaction with the assignments for this year, if they work for all of you, we can do this, accept them as they are, with the exception of perhaps taking a look at seeing if we need to keep the website ad hoc committee and the wayfinding steering committee. Are we have the need for another meeting, do we think, for that maybe? At least one more? Okay, so that stays. So that's before us, and we can first take the question. I think we're past the need of the website ad hoc committee. Would that be correct, staff and ad hoc members?
I believe we are. I mean,
It's up and running.
it's up and
so.
running for several months now.
Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, the website ad hoc, that can be dissolved.
Very good.
And, hold on a second. Okay. And then, sorry, so the wayfinding steering committee, the only remaining action is to come back as part of your, just in your role as council members, and the other members as planning commission members or design review committee members for a joint meeting to accept the final product.
Well, then we better leave this one alone, otherwise we won't be able to have that final meeting. That would be problematic.
Well, I think there's no further committee meetings, so that. the
Oh, it's
committee
just
itself-
big pass to our council. So in that case, then we can remove this too. Good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, staff. So we've clarified that. Any feedback from the council? Do you want to go through this point by point? Where you guys at? Let me know.
I would say, if people have a desire to get on or get off of a committee or, as a liaison, that maybe that should be brought up. So I'll go ahead and start that conversation. Here's what it could sound like. I think for Sonoma County Health Action, and this is where I get confused because there's a meeting that Sue used to go to that is 3 or 4 times a year. And I've been going to that for the last couple of years, and I can't recall if it's exactly that one. I did highlight it. Santa Rosa Quarterly. So yeah, it's Sonoma County
27 at
Health
the top.
Action. And I think, I guess this monthly Rohnert Park Katati chapter, I'm not quite sure what that is. If that's a subcommittee of that, I really don't know. And I can check with Sue when she gets back. I have not attended any of those meetings, but the one up in Santa Rosa that's quarterly, I've been going to those for a couple years now, and she wanted that help out. So if anything, Sue, if you're listening online somewhere, I'd be happy to switch. She's current member, I'm alternate, but I'd be happy to switch, and we can wait for her to come back to confirm.
I'm going to look over to our council just to make sure. That seems like the best way to handle this. We do have an interest The alternate has been handling the meetings. That's worked well for the schedule of the regular, but our regular primary isn't here. Could we discuss that one particular piece of information at our next regularly scheduled meeting?
And we would want to agendize that?
Yeah, I think we could do
so
that
if it's
then.
okay to do maybe just that one unless there's others, then it could be a pretty quick.
Well, we'll see if we have anything to add to it, but if we do, with her not here, and given the fact that the only communication I had is she was comfortable with her assignments, it sounds logical. I think she'll probably agree with you, but it would be probably something for you two to discuss just to make sure that that works for the both of you.
And then the process question I have will go to Robin for sure. So, I've been the liaison on Planning Commission for a couple of years now, and last time I went to that meeting, it was pretty clear to be hands off, but I want a little more detail on that. We can't influence any of those other commissions, but how much leeway? Is it no public comment? Is it, can I sit in the back of the room and listen and write notes? I've heard some different things, so I'd look for a little clarification.
In my opinion, council members can certainly attend and observe. I think they should be very judicious in their public comment. I would not say that they can't ever comment, but you have to be very careful that you're speaking for yourself as an individual and not on behalf of the council. And you also have to be careful, depending on the issue that you're commenting on, that your remarks don't appear to be a prejudgment on anything that is going to come back to you as council. So I generally recommend that silence is golden in that situation, but definitely can attend, take notes. I think you can ask a clarifying question if that's important for you, but otherwise I think you can best get your information through staff.
Right, and I totally agree with that. I just wanted to be clear on it. And I just think even what may seem as an innocuous comment from any one of us at a meeting like that could be construed as, definitely a conflict of interest. So I'm happy to be quiet. It's just I've heard some other interpretations of what you should and should not do, and like you shouldn't even be in the room, which I thought was a little ridiculous. So that clarifies it in my mind. Thank you. That's it for me.
Councilmember Moore.
Ms. Donahue, along those same lines, and maybe this is not, should be directed to council, but maybe to city manager and or to council. In light of the fact that you are an observer and you're not necessarily contributing to that conversation, and many of those issues are going to come before the council, what's the point of a liaison on that?
I'm aware of many cities that don't have those liaison roles, so I assume this was a custom in Cotati and never really looked into it deeply, but there are many cities that don't have liaisons to their subordinate advisory commissions. The other thing that I've seen is some cities will have, after a planning commission meeting, the chair or staff for the commission will do a couple paragraph summary report of what went on, and that actually goes into the council members' agenda packet as correspondence received. It's a kind of a hybrid where you're not necessarily getting the minutes in your packet, but you're getting a very brief summary of the matters discussed and the positions taken. And usually those are just received as correspondence, but it gives you a little bit more information about what your commissions are doing.
So in light of that, if I would ask the council, why would we continue to have those liaisons for design review and planning?
I think that's a really good question, and maybe we need to agendize that for a future meeting and have a discussion on it, and maybe it's time, to see how staff feels, but maybe it's time to dissolve that practice. That was, when I was first on the council 30 years ago, that was the practice, and I was kind of surprised that, it's still going on. So,
thank you.
Well, I can see certainly two sides to that. There's definitely the concern of being careful not to influence the discussion or be involved in any way, but at the same time also see the value, both as a council member, seeing what's going on the ground floor. It's quite different being in the meeting, watching the deliberations, listening to the presenters, as opposed to just getting a paragraph summary in your packet. So there's so value to that. But If the council wants to agendize this for discussion at sometime in the new year with the new mayor, maybe it's time to look at that. We could certainly do that, and I think there's value in doing it both ways. So I'll leave that to the council's direction. But for tonight, we should either pick new liaisons or stick with same liaisons until we revisit this. So give me some direction.
I'm fine with the assignments that I have right now. So.
Councilmember Moore?
I don't see if the rest of the council is comfortable with their assignments. I would be comfortable with that as well.
Beautiful. So, Vice Mayor DeLosso, you good for the Planning Commission for a little longer until we decide exactly what's going on with that? Okay, so that settles that one. What about the rest of our various ad hoc committees, subcommittees, and assignments? Where are you guys on that? Everybody have a comfort level with what they're doing? Anybody looking for more work?
Unless somebody's looking for less work, I think we're fine.
You know, usually you're safe. There's not a lot of hands when you ask for looking for people for more work. And, you know, to be fair, all of us are at different places in terms of jobs, responsibilities, where we are and stuff like that. So I think everybody's kind of maxed out is the sense I've had. So if you're satisfied with where you're at, I mean, I think rather than spend the public's time and our time and staff's time going through this bit by bit, we could just agree to carry it forward one more year if that works.
With the one exception of the
Yes.
Health Action Council and bringing it back to the next meeting.
And that has been called out, as well as taking a look at if we do want to continue having liaisons. We'll let staff look at that, see if there's any ramifications that we did consider immediately tonight, and then discuss it again in the future. Very good.
So moved.
So yes, let's see. So we need a motion to adopt the representatives and liaisons with the modifications discussed, and to also disband our 2 ad hoc committees.
I would move that we would adopt the current assigned representatives with the ad hoc committee changes and liaisons to the various committee and commissions for the calendar year 2019. And if the city council desires, we're disbanding the other ones.
We'll talk about that in the future. That shouldn't be part of the motion. Okay. And let's see, do we get both pieces of that? You threw me there.
Yes, I got the dissolution of the 2 ad hoc committees,
Good.
and then bringing back on a future agenda item,
Perfect.
discussion on health action as well as
Got it.
liaisons.
Okay. Actually, my mistake. My apologies. So that will take care of that. All in favor? Please
So I would
signify.
second.
Oh, sorry about that. A second.
That's all right.
And now that we do have a motion, second, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that carries 4 with 1 absence tonight. All right. And this brings us to what I thought everybody was here for earlier, the city manager's report. I can't believe they left.
Sadly disappointed yet again.
They'll be sorry.
All right, so thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So we have something coming up that's called Cookies and Cocoa with a Cop. This is for those that don't like caffeine, generally preteen, or I guess people we don't want to feed caffeine to. Is probably the more appropriate way to say it. So the Cotati Police Department is inviting children under the age of 12 to the police station to enjoy an evening filled with craft projects, treats, and a story read by Santa himself on Friday, December 14th. We're hosting 2 sittings of 25 children each sitting. And this is first come, first serve, so please reserve your spot by emailing rlucas, that's R-L-U-C-A-S, at cotadicity.org, and then indicate which time slot you'd prefer, the 6 to 7 p.m. or 7 to 8 p.m. time slot. There's no charge for this event, but each child must be accompanied by an adult. And we are also continuing the show, but now on the road at Thomas Page Academy also. And we are doing that on, this is again, Cookies and Cocoa with a Cop on Tuesday, December 18th from 11 to 12 a.m. And this is actually part of an effort that one of our corporals, Corporal Gaio, is doing as part of her SSU criminal justice internship, where she's working at Thomas Page much more intimately and developing closer relationships with the school there. And then finally, since we're talking about Thomas Page Academy, the New Hope Church in Cotati invited the police department, you probably saw it on the Facebook page a couple weeks ago, to go out to the school and measure everyone's foot size. So they measured everyone at the school And the reason why is because New Hope Church has asked us to partner with them to help give away shoes for all the students. And this is going to happen on Wednesday, December 19th at 1100 hours, 11 a.m., sorry. I won't speak military time. And Cotati officers will deliver the shoes with the New Hope Church members. So it's going to be a busy couple days out there in Thomas Page before the end of the school year for the holidays. And then also just a couple construction updates. The Laguna Bypass Sewer, this is referred to lovingly as Project P1. Night work is continuing on this project, and we're just about at the US 101 overcrossing currently. And there's 45 contract days left, and the expected completion date right now is February 14th, which is, of course, contingent on factors such as weather and so forth. But right now, the completion date ends at February 14th. The lighting project, for those of you that attended the tree lighting, you saw all the new lights in La Plaza Park, which is it's fabulous. Actually, every night when I go by there, we had the two interior lights turned off because they're on switches, so we could do events and not have lights on right in the middle of the park. But on the non-event days, you'll see all the lights on, and it's really well lit and much more inviting than the floodlight that used to be the only light in there at nighttime. So that's great. And then we're also waiting on the lights on the fire department or fire district side of the street of Old Redwood Highway, right in front of the Lions Club. You might see some light poles there that are still dark. Those are referred to as unmetered lights. The ones in the park are all connected to an electric meter. That's why they're able to be on right now. The other lights are unmetered lights, and so those lights we're waiting for PG&E to turn on. And that's in front of the Lions Club as well as outside the tunnel at East School Street and also McGinnis and Marsh pathways. So those lights should be on in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Just an update on East Cotati Avenue, the street rehab project. I think you know when we talked about it in the budget process that we were able to obtain a grant for rehabbing East Cotati Avenue between the Smart Railroad tracks and the city limits, so in front of Windmill Farms and Sunflower Park. And the design is complete. We have what's called an E76, which or we're going to shortly be getting an E76, which basically is, in Caltrans parlance, is the authorization to move forward with actually bidding the project for construction. So we expect that we'll be able to bid that early in the year and hopefully kick off construction in the springtime or early summer. So that's the next street project in the queue before we get towards the middle to end of the summer when the next round of street paving will happen. So you'll be seeing all that in the near future as well. And so talking about street paving, we also held off our kickoff meeting for the 5-year CIP, and the council should be seeing this draft CIP in the very near future for the 5-year paving plan. And then finally in recreation, as I mentioned earlier, this past Friday we had the annual holiday tree lighting event. The park was packed with hundreds of people who enjoyed live music and entertainment, horse and carriage rides, the trackless train, and food and craft vendors, free refreshments, and a craft making station and visits with Santa. The Lions Club, which was serving hot chocolate and cookies, they reported that they gave out over 1,000 drinks to guests during the evening. And it was one of the busiest it was the busiest they've ever seen this event. And guests also got to enjoy the new light poles that keep La Plaza Park lit during the evening and the ambiance and safety it provides. And one of the things I will also just point out that it's a slightly different format now. We had the tents ringing the stage area, so it wasn't so cramped feeling, unlike the layout that had been last year. So it was a nice change, and it was well attended and super fun. So also going back just a week before that, on December 1st was the 3rd annual Cotati Shop and Stroll event in downtown Cotati, which the turnout was great. We had live music from 4 bands, over 50 vendors. The horse and carriage rides were there as well as a petting zoo, and even the marble racetrack in front of Heinz Signs, which my wife and I both participated in, but we both got killed at. The kids beat us handily every time. Anyway, we tried. And then we're also partnering with Redwood Empire Food Bank to host the holiday food drive, also in addition to the Homemakers one that was mentioned earlier tonight. And are currently accepting non-perishable food items here at City Hall. There's the tubs in front of the doors, as well as all the events there at the, both at the tree lighting, but they're also at the shop and stroll events to collect non-perishable foods. And also the food bank is offering a senior food basket at Charles Street Village to anyone 60 and up on the second Wednesday of each month from 9 to 7, which I believe is tomorrow, tomorrow in the morning, tomorrow at 9 a.m. And you do not need to be a resident to receive food, but need an ID for age verification. And then this Saturday, we host our third Breakfast with Santa in the Katati Room. This event's completely sold out, so forget it if you haven't got tickets. Next year. There's always next year. And it's a pancake breakfast followed by holiday craft making and a visit with Santa. And then finally, I'll just say that we're also doing 2 winter break camps for students, and this is over the holidays for parents at work, but kids are off school, obviously. And they're Wednesday through Friday camps each week, $75 a week or $35 a day. Space is filling up quickly already, so register now to ensure your spot. And you can register for this or any of our events or programs on the city website or over the phone or by contacting Ashley directly at 665-4222 or awilson@katatiCity.org. With that, I'd be happy to.
Well, it looks like you've been very busy as well, and the rest of the city, Mr. Obid. Thank you for that report. And give our thanks to Mr. O'Neill and the Lions and everybody else that helped with this. That was all the events have been bigger this year. I've noticed that was a very good one. So, 1,000 hits of cocoa. That's pretty remarkable. That's wonderful. All right. Any questions for the city manager from the council? No, seeing none. This brings us to city council member reports. And I'll start right over here to my right, I think, tonight.
Okay, so I think city manager mentioned most, if not all of these. I went to the Shop and Stroll event on December 1st. It was off to a sort of a slow start because it was so cold and rainy and overcast, and as soon as the sun came out, I'd noticed it just seemed to double in attendees. So I was really glad that the weather cleared for us that day. I also attended a Mentor Me Petaluma potluck, so I know that's out of the city, but it was another event, and that was a lot of fun. And then the tree lighting on the 7th, I was able to make a very brief appearance. My office holiday party ended up being the same day, so I had to sort of split my time. And then I'm really looking forward to Saturday. I'll be assisting Santa at the Breakfast with Santa event, so I always enjoy that every year. So
nice.
That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman. Vice Mayor-elect Skillman, thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Many of the events that Wendy just talked about, I also was there, and along with the Katati Cheer through the Chamber of Commerce, and then we have a REMIF annual meeting coming up in January. So that'll be in the lovely town of Windsor.
Excellent. And Mayor-elect Delasso, what do you have for us tonight?
Thank you kindly. The only thing is coming up this Thursday, which is another monthly Ag and Open Space District meeting, and I guess the hot topic will be something that was brought up by Nisa Hinton from Sebastopol to the mayors at the last meeting, and it had to do with policy or no policy on voting on a subcommittee. So we had the subcommittee for the matching grants program, and Nisa, I was on that committee, and there was 3 or 4 others, and several people from Ag and Open Space Fiscal Oversight Committee. And about 2 weeks after we had gotten materials, which were super thick, she was told, because Sebastopol had submitted a project, that she could not partake in the process. And she thought that was wrong. She thought she should, recuse herself from the Sebastopol project discussion, but be a part of the other projects. And I said, well, that makes a lot of sense because that's what we did. She goes, oh, who do I talk to about this? So it's gone around and around. We got a letter from the mayor of Sebastopol, then mayor. So this will be a topic that county council is now involved in. So they're at all of our meetings, and they'll be there to weigh in with their opinion on this. And it's always seemed to have been the practice, apparently, at Ag and Open Space that if you're an elected, like Steve Rabinovich, who was on Santa Rosa City Council for a while, he's still a member of Ag and Open Space. He's off the council. But he goes, well, when I knew the city of Santa Rosa was going to be applying for a project, and this matching grant program's every other year, he goes, I would just not get on the subcommittee. And it's like, well, okay, that's a simple way of doing it. Great. So I've as chair, I said, we're not going to come to a resolution, but we need to have it on the agenda for a discussion. And whatever we do, we may or may not take this to the board, which is our board is the Board of Supervisors. You know, we may just have a policy decision at Ag and Open Space and put something in writing. So it's kind of an interesting scenario that apparently has not come up before. So I have no idea what direction this is going to take. And there's going to be people all over the map on this one, because there'll be people who will agree with what Nisa's saying, and there'll be people who don't agree, and then there'll be people, it's like, you know, who cares? Just make a decision, let's move forward. So so that'll be the hot topic on Thursday evening. That's all I had.
Yeah, good. I think you got a letter from the Mayors and Council Members Association on that too as well, because I do remember that presentation.
Yes.
Difficult thing. You have to be able to count on our elected people to switch hats and do different things. And certainly you want to make sure that everything's done across the board at all levels too. So I wish you good luck with that. Exciting times. So I have a few things to go through. One piece of good news, one piece of bad news, and one piece of good news. So for the most part, it's good. First of all, at the Sonoma County Transit Authority meeting yesterday, where I serve as your representative, we discussed the Regional Traffic Mitigation Fund. This is an agreement between Rohnert Park with the County of Sonoma and the City of Cotati. Very briefly, this goes back many years, but before the downturn, when Rohnert Park was looking at aggressively expanding within its various borders, the traffic impacts of that were noted both in county areas, particularly in Pen Grove, as well as impacting the streets of Cotati, as it continues to do. An agreement was forged whereby these large developments, the developer would set aside funds to help at least mitigate some of those impacts. Probably not the ideal outcome for all of us, but better than nothing and a step forward in these things. Of course, then the downturn hit and none of these projects came forward. So now they're beginning to come forward. So what happened was staff from all three agencies got together, took a look at the previous projects they discussed, and took a look at the best way, number one, what the projects we had, and also how we ranked them, the criteria for choosing which projects we should invest in. I had a chance to review that. This was agreed with all the staff. I thought they were good projects. They seemed reasonable, and I thought the ranking criteria seemed as reasonable as thorough as you can have in something that is somewhat subjective. So this would be a good thing. I think there's roughly $1 million sitting there right now, but I mean, potentially I think this goes up to a pot of $7 million if you combine it with any other funds, such as Measure M or something. You're starting to be able to do certainly smaller projects and maybe get a start on some bigger ones as well. So that was passed unanimously, although I will mention that Councilmember McKenzie mentioned he wanted to have the county and the city of Cotati also pay into this. However, Supervisor Rauda gently pointed out that the development, as he put it, Rohnert Park's development to the line is what created the impact. So it quieted down after that, I'm pleased to say. So that was good news. Some concerning news, potentially bad, from Sonoma Clean Power at our meeting the week before that, the previous Thursday. We have discussed in the past the power change and difference adjustment, the PCIA, a cost that is passed on to Sonoma Clean Power customers from, in our case, PG&E. A recent CPUC, California Public Utilities decision, surprisingly, made that markedly worse. Run out of markets. It's much worse than anybody would have expected. This will have several ramifications, although it's early to say. Numbers aren't really in yet, and it won't be until PG&E starts releasing some of their data, and that's always a very slow process. But at minimum, you can count on belt tightening at all levels at Sonoma Clean Power and every CCA throughout the state. You can look at less dollars being put into reserves, which is essentially protective for both the company and all its customers. You can look at less dollars being put into programs, such as, for example, Drive EV. And you can certainly look at the potential, although I can't give you any certainty as yet, but rates going upwards. And it's unknown at this time what they will be, but they could even be potentially for some period of time above PG&E's. This is a somewhat serious matter. I'll just opine very briefly. What you're looking at is, in my personal take at least, is the CPUC views the grid, the system that runs power in this state, is something that they're deeply invested in and have a great deal of control over. And I think from their perspective, they view the rise of CCAs as somewhat of a threat to that, because we're able to procure our own power, our own resource adequacy, do our own investment in renewables, and that's typically something they've always been able to control through the investor-owned utilities such as PG&E. And I say that simply because they're moving forward with new suggestions. They want to purchase resource adequacy. This is extra power, just in case we run low in power, for those that don't know that. Now, Sonoma Clean Power and other CCAs have already purchased for the next couple of years millions of dollars of this, but they're going to go ahead and purchase it, they're saying, anyhow, through PG&E, and bill us all for it. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And they're also they're talking about at least controlling the development of all renewables in the state, working through the investor-owned utility again, which would essentially cut out any need whatsoever for CCAs. The main thing we do, and frankly usually do better than the CPUC and the investor-owned utilities. So that's just the update, something to keep an eye on. We'll see impacts for all the citizens that live in Cotati, and they won't be good ones, but there's going to be a lot of pushback on this. So now, not to end it on a negative note, I will say the good news is Santa did come to our tree lighting, and everybody had a very good time, and I was very pleased to be there. So that's my report. All right, so we are to public comment on non-action agenda items. Ms. Alderman, you always beat them by a mile.
This is for the future agenda items. I would like you to consider having an agenda item about furloughing some people on the city staff because out of the planning commission this year, you had 4 out of 24 meetings. You had over an 80% cancellation rate. Don't have the development going on to support this, and then they should be at least furloughed. I'd also like examination about city salaries and this whole thing about how Measure G, the half-cent bump you did, has in the last 3 years, has brought up, you've not increased your staff, but you've increased your benefits and your wages by that. Measure G is going to your pockets, to the city staff's pockets, and especially Mr. Obid, he gets over $110,000 worth of benefits. He's in the top 5 of benefits and wages he's after Healdsburg and Rohnert Park, but Cloverdale and Sebastopol, he's way ahead. He shouldn't be earning that much and getting $35,000 a year raises. Those kind of things you need to be dealing with. Then you can spend that money on senior services, on emergency preparedness, but you're not getting anywhere by spending our monies on wages and salaries when there's no development going on really in this town. I didn't count the amount of design review meetings, but it's probably close. 4 out of 24 meetings you held in 2018. Just want to reemphasize that.
And thank you. Mr. Barrich.
I'd like to speak on a future agendized item for your consideration. As we go forward into the next year, I'd like to ask you, do you really believe there's only one homeless person in the entire city of Cotati? Anybody? Have you ever heard something so asinine Talk about the unmitigated gall to sit here in a position of power and claim there's only one homeless person in this city, therefore the issue is not worthy of your breath of air. Council, look, the policy thus far for the homeless in Cotati, as I've explained many times, is that if there was a problem, the police department is going to offer a one-way ticket ride, police car ride, to a homeless shelter in Petaluma. If that doesn't work, maybe the officers might make the homeless person an offer they can't refuse. But the bigger issue is if we even are having less homeless than we have in the past, say during the Obama recession, when we had a lot more homeless. Even if we're having less, the question is, where did they go? Why did they leave? Was Cotati such a horrible, unfriendly, despicable place, the hostility so high that they've been run out of town? These are the questions you might want to bring up when we're talking about the homeless this next year. Because are we driving them out? Has Cotati has such a reputation as being so despicable that they are homeless are harassed in Cotati? I know I was harassed even standing on the street corner campaigning. Mr. Moore would drive by and tell me, "Get out of town, Barrich." You know, so imagine what he's doing to the homeless. If this is the kind of treatment our homeless are getting, that they are berated and made fun of and mocked and taken for granted, that they don't deserve your compassion, don't deserve any public services, don't deserve to have a room open up when it's freezing cold out here in Cotati, I would ask you to reconsider. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Barrich. All right, those are our only two people in the audience. I don't believe our reporter from the CV wants to come up and speak as my guest, so I'm going to close public comment on non-action agenda items and bring it back. So, item 15, do we have any information received after the agenda posted, Mr. Obid? None? Very good. A quick comment, and then we will be adjourned. But first, I'd like to thank my colleagues, John, Wendy, and Sue, wherever you are right now, and everybody on the staff, and everybody in the public for the honor of serving as your mayor this year. It has been a very wonderful experience, and I'm very deeply grateful. So thank you, everybody, for that. And one last time for now, we are adjourned at 8:54. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.